Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 82 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So if you've been trying to streamline your life and focus on doing what's most important to you, you'll likely have thought about making a shift in your career. Yet where we often get stuck is in this transition period. How do we find what we love? How do we get paid for it? We start to wonder, is the grass going to actually be greener on the other side? And today we're going to dive into each of these things and how you can start doing what you love today. So let's talk about the arrival fallacy, the thought that the grass will actually be greener on the other side. We always think that something has to be better than what we're doing today. So we go find a new job, we find a new career, we start a new business, we take a new role. And this isn't completely true. It's not completely true that it has to be better than what we're doing today. Yet it's also not completely false. What happens is that we think the situation has changed, when in reality, the change you're experiencing is actually your internal change in reaction to a situation changing. And so I'll break it down for you. Think about the last time you felt so much more patient, kind, loving, and calm after something really good, quote unquote good, happened in your life. We start to feel all of life is so good when something good happens. And this is what I'm talking about. The honeymoon phase that comes with a new line of work is often real. We can get paid for doing something we enjoy, and that is amazing. We got a client. That's amazing. We're learning new skills, new areas of expertise. We're being thought of as leaders, and we feel like we did it. And we think to ourselves, I'm so glad I made this change. What we don't realize is that it ends. Somehow, that first amount of money you make isn't good enough anymore, and you need more clients, you need more promotions, you keep wanting to do more, bigger, and different things, and you want more of something that's outside of you, and it's just never enough. And if it's never enough, then it's not about the job. You felt good because a change meant something about the way you perceive yourself. It meant that you thought of yourself as more congruent, maybe more honest with the way that you're living your life, more creative. Maybe suddenly you're like, now I have this job where I get to express my creativity. Maybe you feel more powerful, that you're in a position of leadership in the industry or in the work that you do. And maybe you feel more impactful suddenly. You made it mean something good about yourself. So you saw this career shift as a good thing. And what needs to continue in order to beat this arrival fallacy and make sure that it doesn't just become a fallacy is that you continue to feel good all the time, no matter what job or line of work you're in, and no matter how many more or fewer dollars are attached to your title, can you feel good? And no matter how much status you have or don't have, can you feel good? Instead of constantly shifting your career so that you can feel good about yourself, can you just feel good about yourself and let your career evolve and change for natural reasons? That maybe the problem isn't what you have or don't have, but what we feel about what we have or don't have. So I am not saying don't go and change a career, because I do think that sometimes changing careers is what we naturally need in this next step of our life, in terms of if we're interested in learning a new skill, a new opportunity presents itself. Maybe we just have something that is of interest suddenly that wasn't there before. I would say go for it, right? Follow that curiosity. But don't think that that's the end all be all for all of the things. What I teach in a lot of my courses and in my coaching is how you make these results and achievements mean something more. How do you improve upon the way that you get there so that you don't lose part of yourselves along the way and you realize, wait, suddenly I got the thing, but the rest of my life looks like a bit of a mess. And when I realized that I stepped into my calling, I'm doing coaching now, but wait, problems still appeared. I'm helping people's lives, I'm doing training, facilitation, personal development work, but problems still appeared. What's up with that? So I realized two things. The first thing is that it's all a choice. And I'll explain what that means. And the second thing is that we can go deeper to find progress. And I'll explain what that means as well. So this is a choice. What does that mean? When I started seeing that problems and a sense of striving that comes with achievement, those things continued to exist no matter where I went, I realized that I had to continually stop to reflect on how my thoughts and my feelings were a choice. And if they were a choice, why not love my life? I decided to love my life as if this was just handed to me right now. And I know this sounds kind of like a weird thought, but we're trying to do something weird, which is do what we love and think about ways that we can do what we love. So stay with me. I tried to see it as if it was the first time I saw my family, my work, my friends, and even my health and my body. I do this often, actually. And the other day, I was in a day-long silent meditation retreat, and I remember leaving my house for this meditative walk, and I had this one thought pop into my head. What if this life was enough? 6 words that changed everything. What if this life was enough? What if this life was enough? And that one thought permeated everything. The problems, the random worries, the bigger concerns, and it just quieted my mind like nothing before. I don't know if you've ever had that experience before where one single thought, and it seems so simple, just starts to change a lot of the way that you see and perceive and reflect on the experiences in your life. And to an achiever, a sense of enoughness can actually be a scary thought. Achievers like to have that hunger for more to keep them going. It's this fuel to know that we're being challenged and that it's not enough. And we love to prove to ourselves that we can do more and be more and have more. And I don't think, though, that there's this disconnect here between evolving ourselves and being enough. We're more than the sum of our parts, and that means that all of the good and bad things that we feel that are happening don't actually define enoughness or even our worth. So our choice in doing what we love and our choice to work has nothing to do with how valuable we are to the world. I want you to hear that. It has nothing to do with how valuable we are to the world. It is a choice to spend our time pursuing something that we call our passion or something that provides money so that we can live in this world that requires money. It's a choice to spend time doing things we might find interesting or worthwhile and contribute, even if only temporarily. So what if this was that simple? What if it was all a choice that you just get to do these things? What if it was all more than just okay to be doing work and this work? And when we start with those thoughts and those beliefs, then we can pursue almost any line of work. So we start to untie ourselves from what we think has to happen for us to love the work that we have. And so the second thing I realized was that the shifts that we seek to feel a sense of change or space or progress in our lives can actually be found by going deeper. Often we try to move. We move our houses, we move our furniture, we move and change the way we look. Maybe you cut your hair a different way. Maybe you put on different outfits. Maybe you change your body. And we try to change things so that we can feel the sense of shifting in our lives, the sense of progress. We feel good when we feel a sense of progress. But what if the thought was, I can go deeper? I can go deeper to find progress. And I started having that thought. I can go deeper to find progress. And I believe you can too. So what does that look like? So examine the work that you are in right now. And instead of thinking, oh, I've done it all, or I can't possibly find any more richness here, I've done everything I can think to do, or I don't want to spend any more time thinking about it, I just want you to think about it from an outside perspective. Sometimes this is called beginner's mind as well. If this was your life's work, you approached it from that perspective, what would you end up doing next? Today or tomorrow, depending on when you're listening to this. And the average person changes their career 5 to 7 times. But there are also those who don't. Should we be miserable in order to change our careers? No. We can change our careers because a new opportunity presents itself. Even if we love our current careers, we can change our career because we see a need we'd like to fill or a problem we want to solve. We can change our career because we've moved in our life, whether it's physically or in our personal situations, and those things require something different from our work. When you're in the work you're in now, can you actually approach it as if you were this scientist and seeing all the different possibilities of what you could do to find more depth and richness? Can you make small and subtle changes that will ladder up to something bigger and more beautiful? I want you all to feel the sense of beauty and wonder in simple, everyday things. Sometimes when I write, I feel like I'm on a piano. This might sound strange to some folks, but it reminds me of playing the piano. And when I'm kind of at the end of a thought and have kind of written it all out, it's like the player that finishes and they lift the fingers from the keys as if you just ended this magnificent song. You played that last note and you feel a sense of triumph and you're just like, dun dun, it's done. Right? You feel that completeness. So can you do that with an email? Can you do that with a phone call? Like bring some magic to it. Can you do that with each interaction you have with a human today? To see it with the sense of wonder, to see it with a sense of awe, to bring that beginner's mind and that magic in. Oh my goodness, I'm on this spinning planet getting to do these random things with these random people. And guess what? It's not that bad at all. And so this is how we can go even deeper into our work today. This is how we can make a 1% improvement. Not by just doing more, but maybe by listening more deeply, by refining a process, by answering questions or creating a solution. And all of those 1% changes compounds over time, and they leave us feeling like we've stepped into this whole new line of work. Why? Because you did. When you take that time to dive into your craft even more, you create a new version of yourself and you create a new version of your craft, of the work you're doing in the process. I bet some of you have done your work for a while and suddenly you realize that you are maybe becoming a lot more masterful at it than you were in the beginning. And if you just kept going along with it, you'd probably find that you'd create a whole way of working that if you were to teach someone, they'd be like, how did you come up with this? I've never seen anything like this before. And you wouldn't actually know exactly how. You just did it, right? You just worked on these small little things over time, and then they all added up and they created this very unique line of work, this very unique version of you, because guess what? It was led by you and it has your own energy in it, and you are one out of billions of people. So you bring something different to everything that you do. We just need to sit with that a little bit by immersing ourselves sometimes into our work with a different lens. It is this idea that when you take that time to dive into your craft even more, you create this new version of yourself. And you today could actually see what it would look like to do this with your work if you did this new sense of purpose in it. Like, I'm going to dive into this. It's a craft now. I just called it a job. Now it's my craft. Even if it seems like not a craft, maybe you feel like it's very transactional. What if you made that transactional thing a craft and you put that really beautiful sense of attention or detail, that sense of purpose, that sense of care, that sense of intelligence, and the quality of presence that you bring to it changes it all. I'll challenge you, if you like to achieve and you want to be achieving here, can you solve a problem with 3 steps instead of 10? That's what I'm talking about. These are the ways that you can go even deeper, right? How do you go even deeper to find progress? And then you emerge even smarter, more effective as a result. And these are the questions that people ask who approach their work as a craft, even if you're mainly doing the job because of the money. All right. So now the next question, what do I even love? So doing what we love requires that we know what we love. We know we want to work, but sometimes we don't know what to do. We might love everything. Maybe we're multi-passionate. Maybe you can't imagine ever really loving your work. You think it's not called fun for a reason. And between these two camps is something I like to think of as the middle way. And the in-between of seeing your work as this totally flowy thing and this totally process-driven and structured thing is this in-between of being this place where work isn't just all about love or all about it being a bore. And when you don't know what you love to do, what I often ask people to think about is where they feel a sense of aliveness or a sense of energy. Even though that sense of aliveness or energy isn't always present in our lives, we do have moments when we feel it. Maybe some of you have felt it this morning or yesterday even. Maybe it was 10 years ago. Can you find this sense of aliveness within yourself first? And then you ask yourself, how can I apply this to the work I do? Or how can I find a place where my strengths will be supported and are held valuable? Let's not try to swim upstream here. What I would encourage you all to do is to think about, if, for example, if you are really interested in like science and medicine, then it's swimming downstream and with the current to find a place where they need people who do those things and are interested in those things, instead of going somewhere where that's not valued, not because there's something wrong with it, but just because that's not the kind of work this company or organization or these people do. That doesn't mean that the thing you love isn't worthwhile. And so sometimes we just look and we say, oh, it's not worthwhile because it's not valued here, instead of saying, well, where would it be valued? Assume that the work you want to do is valued somewhere. You just have to find it. Another question to think about is, what would I love to learn more about and become better at? We're often just a beginner when we're approaching something that we love and trying to do work with it. And sometimes we think we first have to be really good at something before we can do it. But I like to think that we can reverse that question, that we can ask ourselves this instead. What would we love to be good at? What would we love to be good at? Because you're on a journey. You're not going to start being an expert, the best. You're not going to start without the sense of not knowing why it doesn't feel so good. But the pursuit of something worthwhile could be everything. So what would you love to be good at? And then you have fun along the way of doing it, instead of waiting for you to finally be at that outcome and saying, oh, I love this, I'm doing the work I love, versus I might not be good at it, but I'm interested, and I'm really interested in learning more. I'm interested in getting better at this. And so therefore, I'm willing to get on this journey and this ride, even though I might not be doing it 100% of the time. I'm learning about it, I'm getting better at it, and all of this is still doing what you love. Okay, so let's answer the question, how to get paid. So that's the age-old question of How can I get paid doing what I love, right? That's ever present in our minds anytime we think of making a transition. And I'll tell you the short answer to that question is yes. Will you get paid as much as you are getting paid now? Will you get paid more than you're getting paid now? All of that depends. And instead of solely looking at it from this yes or no point of view, I'd actually consider thinking about, what does it mean for you to get paid doing what you love? I want you to expand this idea of paid. Sometimes payment comes in the form of flexibility and having the ability to choose how and when you work. Maybe these intangible but tangible in some ways benefits. Sometimes payment comes in the form of this opportunity to learn something that you deem highly valuable. And sometimes payment comes in the form of just being in an environment surrounded by people you admire, or in a place feeling like you're contributing. And so being paid is defined by you. How much money do you want to make? How much money do you need to make based on your lifestyle or your desired lifestyle? Do you have other sources of income? Can you have other sources of income? Gone are the days when we only do one job forever and ever. We get to be more creative in the way that we live our lives. We can have multiple jobs and let one job support the other. We can have one job and also have a financial situation that looks very different than the person next to you. And the difficult but important part of this process is to define to yourself what it means for you to get paid for doing what you love, and then deciding, is that worthwhile to me? Right? Not from a place of ego, but from a place of true need and reality. Sometimes we can be more flexible in how much we get paid. And sometimes we need to get paid more to be able to continue to live the lifestyle that we desire to live. Both of these are facts. Both of these can change. And your situation is your own. You want to leave other people's paths to the wayside when you consider your own. Only you know what doing what you love is worth to you, and what feels like an equal energetic exchange in the form of money, time, opportunities, or resources. So in summary, it is a worthwhile process to explore aligning what you do with what you love. This whole life is a big, fabulous, bumpy, weird journey. And if you can learn to live it with a lot more love, you'll see how your work, how your job, your career, your calling, your vocation will start to feel a lot more meaningful. It will still feel a lot more aligned, and it will start to feel enough. So if this topic resonates with you and you want to see transformational results in your life, you will love coaching. And getting coached consistently is that spark that lights that inspiration to make the change you're looking to make the plan, to hold yourself accountable, finally, to this new thing. And it is that first step in creating the clarity and making that massive shift so that you can move obstacles out of your way and move forward. And you can go to www.mayemson.com/contact to learn more. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.